Hi, movie fans. In this synopsis, we will be taking a look at the 1987 Lost Boys. This is a pretty fun classic and still holds up in the second year of the second decade of the second millennium. As always, likes and subs are greatly appreciated. Let's go. One evening at a beach amusement park, a group of boys are prowling on the merry-go-round. They stop to hassle a girl, whose boyfriend does not take kindly to this. There is a scuffle that is broken up by a security guard who then kicks them off of the boardwalk. Later that night, once the boardwalk closes and the security guard is walking to his car, something swoops out of the sky and lifts him off as he screams. A mother, her two sons, and their dog are just arriving in Santa Carla. They are moving there after a tough year. As they drive past the Santa Carla sign, the eldest son notices the murder capital of the world has been sprayed on the back. The Emerson family have come from Phoenix to stay with their grandfather after a divorce. There's Michael, Sam, Lucy, and Nanook. Grandpa is a bit of a joker and pretends to be dead when they arrive. Grandpa has a great house, but Sam is disappointed there is no TV. Michael has to remind him they are flat broke. As Grandpa and Lucy unpack the trailer, the boys explore the house, finding Grandpa's taxidermy room, which is when he starts laying out the rules. The second shelf of the fridge is strictly out of bounds. Michael notices that Grandpa grows a bit of herb and jokes with Sam about it. Michael asks if Santa Carla is really the murder capital, and Grandpa does not say no. Rule number 2, don't rip the address label off the TV guide, and number 3, keep out of his taxidermy room. Sammy somewhat hopefully asks if he has a TV then, and Grandpa tells him you don't need a TV if you have a TV guide. Genius. One night they go into town and the boys watch the most 80s band you've ever seen. Michael catches eyes with a young filly, and when she moves off he follows her. Rather than staying to watch the goofballs headbanging to a roided up Kenny G, what was he thinking? Lucy wanders into a video store where she meets the owner Max and his dog Thorn. The Hairspray gang from the other night are in there also and asked by Max to leave, which they do. Lucy gets talking to Max and he can tell that she is looking for a job. Sam follows Michael as he follows the mystery girl, but when he sees a comic shop he heads in and leaves Michael to pursue his quarry. Inside, he notices he is being watched by two boys. They say they are amused by his clothes and call him a fashion victim. He starts dropping some Superman knowledge on them. This impresses them and they ask where he is from. One of the kids gives Sam a comic called Vampires Everywhere. Sam says he is not into horror comics, but he is told it might just save his life as the two kids run after some thieves. Sam catches up with Michael just as he sees the girl get on the motorcycle of the Hairspray gang's leader and they drive off. Sam says she stiffed you and laughs at him. The next day, Sam heads back to the comic store where he again meets the Frog brothers, Edgar and Alan. They start going on about how working in their folk store is a cover. They give him another comic called Destroy All Vampires and say their number is on the back and to pray that he doesn't need to call them. He flippantly says that he will pray. One night Michael is walking the boardwalk. He is approached by the girl. Her name is Star. They chat and Michael says let's go eat. She says okay, but when she is about to hop on his bike, the Hairspray gang show up on theirs. Their leader tells Star to get on his bike and they will race Michael to Hudson's Bluff. All he has to do is keep up. They race their bikes down the beach and under a pier. Before long they are going through a woods and out into the open again. Michael is alongside the leader and they are racing to a cliff edge. When Michael realizes, he ditches his bike just in time not to go over. He swears at and punches the leader, who says, "How far are you willing to go?" David, the leader, takes him to their hideout in an old hotel that was destroyed in the Great San Francisco earthquake. He calls on Marco to bring food and offers Michael a toke first, which he hits. Meanwhile, Sam is at home reading the vampire comic before bed. Grandpa brings him a stuffed beaver to decorate his room. It is soon relegated to the closet though. Whoa, Grandpa, what's you thinking there? Back at the hideout, Bill S. Preston Esquire, Marco, has returned with the food. David gives him some rice and when he is eating it asks,
"You're eating maggots, how do they taste?"
He looks down and sees maggots. Retching and dropping the box, he looks again and the maggots are now rice. David appears to make his noodles look like worms and is influencing Michael's mind somehow. Marco brings a bottle and David drinks from it, telling Michael to have a drink and to be one of them. Star says, "You don't have to," and says it is blood. Michael says, "Sure it is," and chugs a few mouthfuls while the others chant. They all have a bit of a dance around while Michael drinks more. The gang ride their bikes to a railway bridge, where each of the crew drop through a hole in the bridge into the unknown. David says, "Come with us," and jumps also. When Michael looks, he sees them hanging from the ironwork. David convinces him to come down and hang there with them. As they are hanging, a train passes and starts rattling the bridge, which causes them to drop off one at a time. David says for him to let go and falls too. Once the train has passed, Michael can hear them calling his name. Michael does not want to let go, but he can hold on no longer and slips into the void. He falls screaming until he starts floating. The next thing he knows is that he is in his bed and being woken up at 2 by a phone call from his mom. She asks him if he can stay with Sam tonight as she has a dinner date with Max. After some resistance, he agrees to do it for her. That evening, Grandpa also has a date and once spruced up heads out. Sam is ragging on Michael's new earring and says he is acting weird. All of a sudden, it seems as if the gang are driving their bikes around the house. Michael can hear David's voice in his head. When he goes to open the door, against Sam's wishes, it is all quiet outside and the bikes have gone. Sam asks him what is going on and he just tells him to take a bath. Michael's about to take a swig of milk, but he gets a sudden excruciating pain in his abdomen, which doubles him over. Sam is in the bath when Nanook starts growling at the door. Michael is outside and about to enter. Just as Sam goes under the water to rinse his hair, Michael opens the door looking like somebody possessed. Nanook barks at him and leaps at him, and the door closes behind them, so Sam has no idea what just occurred. Sam goes downstairs calling for Nanook and Michael, but when he gets to the bottom of the stairs, he sees Michael holding his blood-soaked hand and thinks Michael has hurt Nanook. But Michael says Nanook bit him because he was protecting Sam. Sam notices Michael has a translucent reflection in the mirror and runs to his room and accuses him of being a vampire, saying,
"You wait till Mom finds out, buddy."
Michael follows Sam, but when he can't get in his room, he goes and lays on his bed and can hear his heart pumping. Sam, meanwhile, is looking for the vampire comics so that he can call the Frog Brothers. The Frog Brothers ask Sam some questions and determine that Michael is a vampire. They tell him what he needs to do is drive a stake through his heart, but when Sam says he can't, it's his brother. They said, "We'll come and do it for you." He still says no, so they say, "Get yourself a garlic t-shirt and hang up." In the next room, Michael has fallen asleep, but he's now floating up to the ceiling and he's woken when he presses against it. He starts struggling against being stuck against the ceiling and he's able to slowly make his way to the window, but making a hell of a noise in the process. Sam gets a call from his mom asking if everything is okay. He says, "We need to talk about Michael," and Michael floats by his window and Sam screams that Michael is trying to kill him. Lucy bails on her dinner with Max to rush back home. Michael is scared he will float away and begs Sam to let him in, which he does, and then tells him not to tell Mom. So when Mom gets home, he says he was scared by a comic he was reading. Lucy is infuriated by both of them, especially when she sees the fridge door opened and spilled milk on the floor. Michael leaves on his motorcycle once Grandpa is home, and Sam asks if he can sleep in his mom's room tonight. She says yes and comments on how he smells of garlic. Meanwhile, Max arrives at his house after being stood up, and he gets the willies as he is walking. He is greeted by Thorne when the lights go out and he sees the lights of motorbikes pointing at him. Michael heads to the gang hideout and starts calling out for Star. She eventually answers him, but she cannot answer his question of what has happened to him. Instead, she seduces him and they get it on, and then afterward, he notices his hand is completely healed. Lucy takes a bottle of wine to Max as an apology for running out on their dinner date. As she approaches the house, Thorne starts going loco on her and chases her off the property while trying to attack her. She and Sam manage to escape in time, but not before a bit of squeaky bum time. Shaken up by this, Sam goes to visit the Frog Brothers again. They say that Sam needs to kill his brother, but Sam says if they kill the head vampire, all half vampires return to normal, according to the comic. Sam speculates that Max, who only goes to the video store at night, is the head vampire and is protected during the day by Thorne. The Frog brothers say they will check him out. One evening, Lucy invited Max for dinner. Michael is not joining them and is going out, but just as he is leaving, Max is at the door and introduces himself. Once inside, Max apologizes to Lucy for Thorne and promises he will behave if she comes back, and then gives her a peck on the lips. Right then, Sam shows up with the Frog brothers and says he has invited them to dinner also. Luckily, Lucy has made enough food for them all. To test Max, the boys slip him grated garlic instead of Parmesan, but Max says that he likes garlic, just not this much. They then try a couple of other tests, but none of them say Max is a vampire. He leaves, but before he does, he invites Lucy to his house tomorrow night for dinner. Michael goes to the boardwalk and confronts David, saying, "Where's Star?" David replies, "You will not see Star again unless you come with us now." They head down the beach and hang out in a tree while watching some people dancing around a bonfire. David says initiation is over, now it's time to join the club, and transforms into a vampire with the others. They fly out of the tree and attack the partygoers while Michael watches on helpless. He falls out of the tree and then David comes and tells him, "Now you know what we are, and now you know what you are. You will never get old and die. But you must feed." Star, also a half-vampire, shows up at Michael's house and says that she was supposed to kill him the other night on David's orders, but she could not go through with it, and that he is not a full vampire until he makes his first kill like her. Star leaves and Sam shouts after her not to kill anybody. He knows what to do. Sam tells Michael that he has connections and gets on the phone to the Frog brothers. A professional-looking Frog brothers arrive at the house dressed in their vampire hunting getup. Grandpa is putting up fence posts when the boys steal his prize car and drive off to the secret vampire hideout. The Frog brothers make their way into the vampire lair and are just about to stake Star when Michael shouts at them not to. Michael is going to take Star to the car, but she asks him to take Laddie first, which he does. The boys go looking for the other vampires and eventually find them hanging from the ceiling. Edgar climbs up and sticks a stake through Marco's heart, which causes a bunch of disgusting liquid to fly all over them. Marco screams and wakes up the other vampires. The boys run from the cave and into the sun just in time before David can catch them. David burns his hand but says he will get them tonight. When they get out of the cave, Michael is too exhausted to drive, so Sam says he will drive Grandpa's car and almost drives them off the side of the cliff. They get back to Grandpa's house where he tells them off for not refilling the fuel tank. They bundle Laddie and Star into Sam's bed. They have 2 hours before the sun goes down to come up with a new plan. Sam rides his bike down to see his mom at the video store, but she doesn't believe him and gets annoyed with him when he goes on about all the vampires in the town. The boys cycle over to the local church and fill their canteens with holy water during a baptism. Back at the house, Sam tells Grandpa that he has a date with the widow Johnson at 7 p.m. and not to be late on her order. Grandpa leaves and they start preparing the house for battle by closing the windows, shutting the doors, and barricading themselves in. They light a fire and start crushing garlic. They fill the bathtub with water and garlic, adding the holy water they got from the church, and then fill their water pistols with this concoction. Star, Michael, and Laddie wake up as the sun goes down. Once the sun goes down, the vampires wake up and leave the lair. Meanwhile, Lucy is having a meal with Max at his place and is jumpy. When Max asks what the deal is, she's about to explain, but we cut back to Grandpa's house, where Edgar Frog is briefing them on the ins and outs of slaying vampires. Nanook starts barking at the vampires and Sam realizes that he is tied up to the gate outside and runs to free him. Michael chases after him and the Frog brothers are shouting at them to get back. It's a close-cut thing, but all three of them make it back into the house safely. While Michael and Sam are barricading the door, Dwayne comes flying down the chimney and into the room, knocking Michael on his ass and pulling down the lights. The Frog brothers are upstairs with Star and Laddie and think they should stake them, so chase them to the next room, but Paul is in there and forces them into the bathroom. Seeing the bathtub, he says garlic does not work, but Edgar says holy water does and throws water in his face, giving him serious burns. He is about to attack the brothers when Nanook jumps on him and pushes him into the bathtub, where he fizzles like an Alka-Seltzer. Good boy, Nanook. It's dark downstairs and Michael is unconscious. Dwayne grabs Sam and flies him up to the ceiling, where Sam squirts him with his vampire juice pistol, causing Dwayne to drop Sam. Dwayne comes after Sam and Sam hits him with the bow and arrow, pinning him against the stereo system, which electrocutes and explodes him. He's definitely dead. Sam goes upstairs to find the Fraud brothers and tells them what's going on. Michael is attacked by David and David knocks him around a bit. Sam is talking with Alan and Edgar when little Laddie turns into a vampire and pops through the bottom of the bed. They are about to stake him, but Star tells them he's only a kid and not to kill him. Downstairs, Michael and David go at it, and eventually, Michael is able to impale David on some of Grandpa's taxidermy victim's antlers. The life slowly drains from David, and he perishes. When the boys come downstairs, they realize that David is not the head vampire because Michael is still turned. They hear the sounds of Max's car arriving, bringing Mom home after dinner. When Lucy comes into the house, the boys try to persuade her nothing is going on, while Max goes to the taxidermy room and looks at David's body. Max tells Lucy this is all his fault, saying his boys misbehaved and that they need a mother. Star and the boys now accuse Max of being the leader, and he does not deny it. Sam asks why he didn't fail the vampire tests, and Max says it's because they invited him in, which renders you powerless. Max explains that he really wanted Lucy the whole time and knew if he can get the boys to join his family, Lucy would follow, then says he still wants Lucy. Everyone takes turns trying to attack Max, but Max handles them all with ease, and as he is just about to bite into Lucy's neck, they hear a car horn. Grandpa drives his truck, which has many fence posts on the hood, into the house. The posts slide off and one hits Max in the chest, and he is engulfed in flames and dies. And that is it. Michael is back to being human, and Laddie and Star are also. The house is a mess, but everyone is alive. Finally, Grandpa says that's what he hates about Santa Carla, all the damn vampires. We hope you have enjoyed this. It's a fun film. Maybe check it out for Halloween. Thanks for joining us. Until next time. Peace out.